I didn't cry when my son told the security guard I was a stalker. I didn't raise my voice when they escorted me from the banquet hall while 200 guests stared. I simply turned, walked to my truck, and made a phone call that would change everything. Let me tell you how a father becomes a stranger to his own son. My name is Thomas Brennan. I'm 63 years old, and for 40 years, I worked as a welder at Patterson Steel in Cleveland. My hands are scarred from sparks, my back aches from years of bending over metal, and my clothes smell like the factory no matter how many times I wash them. To most people, I look like exactly what I am, a blue-collar guy who built a life one paycheck at a time. But there's something those people don't know. Something my son Marcus never knew. Between 1985 and 2020, I invested every spare dollar I had into rental properties. Small places at first duplexes in rough neighborhoods, apartment buildings nobody else wanted. I'd fix them up myself after my shifts, work weekends, doing the plumbing and electrical. My wife Sarah thought I was crazy, spending money we barely had on slums. But I saw something she didn't. I saw Cleveland starting to come back. I saw young professionals who'd work downtown and need affordable places to live. By the time Sarah died of cancer in 2018, I owned 17 properties across 3 counties. The rental income alone was pulling in $42,000 a month. I had $3.4 million in various accounts. But I kept going to the factory every day, kept driving my 2006 Ford pickup, kept living in the same 2-bedroom house on Maple Street where Marcus grew up. Why? Because Sarah made me promise something before she died. She grabbed my hand in that hospital room, her voice barely a whisper, and said, "Tommy, don't let him turn into one of those entitled kids. Make him work for everything. Make him appreciate what he has." I kept that promise, even when it cost me everything. Marcus was our only child. Smart kid, always had his nose in books. Sarah and I were so proud when he got into Ohio State, even prouder when he decided to go pre-med. But here's the thing, Marcus thought he'd earned a full-ride scholarship. He didn't know the truth. I'd set up the Brennan Family Medical Scholarship through the University Foundation back in 2016. Donated $500,000 over 4 years. Structured so it would cover one student's complete education tuition, room, board, books, everything. The foundation selected the recipient based on merit and financial need. Marcus applied. Marcus won. He never questioned it. During undergrad, he'd call me every few weeks. "Hey, Dad, how's the factory?" He'd tell me about his classes, his grades, his plans. Then, in his junior year, he met Vanessa. Vanessa Chen came from money. Real money. Her father owned a chain of luxury car dealerships across the Midwest, and her mother was a prominent surgeon in Columbus. They lived in Dublin, in one of those neighborhoods where the houses all look like small hotels and the driveways could fit 4 cars. The first time Marcus brought Vanessa home to Cleveland, I saw the look on her face when she pulled up to our house. The paint was peeling. The lawn needed work. My truck was parked in the driveway with a busted taillight I hadn't gotten around to fixing. "So this is where you grew up?" she said, not even trying to hide the pity in her voice. Marcus looked embarrassed. "It's not much, but it's home. Right, Dad?" I smiled and shook her hand. "Nice to meet you, Vanessa. Marcus has told me a lot about you." She gave me this tight little smile and wiped her hand on her designer jeans after we shook. I saw it. Marcus pretended he didn't. Over the next year, things changed. The phone calls got shorter. "Hey, Dad. Can't talk long. Studying." Then they got less frequent. "Sorry, I haven't called. Been busy with rotations." Then they stopped altogether unless he needed something. In 2022, Marcus got accepted to Case Western's medical school. Another 4 years, another $500,000 in tuition. I set up another scholarship. He won again. Never questioned it. By then, Vanessa was a permanent fixture. They'd moved in together in a high-rise in University Circle. Expensive place. I didn't ask how he afforded his share because I knew Vanessa was paying. And with every month that passed, my son drifted further away from the man I'd raised him to be. The last time Marcus visited me was Christmas 2023. He came alone because Vanessa was with her family. He stayed for 45 minutes, checked his phone the whole time, and left before we even finished eating. As he walked out the door, he paused. Dad, I know this is hard for you to understand, but I'm building a different kind of life than you had. I'm grateful for everything, but I need to focus on my future now. I watched his BMW Vanessa's gift disappear down Maple Street. That's when I knew I'd lost him. Medical school graduation was set for May 18th, 2024, a Saturday. The ceremony would be at the Veal Center, followed by a private reception at the Ritz-Carlton downtown. Marcus had sent me an invitation 3 months prior. Just a text message with a PDF attachment. No phone call, no personal touch. I RSVP'd yes. Bought a new suit. The first one I'd owned in 15 years. Had it tailored. Got a haircut. Even bought new dress shoes. I wanted to look good for my son's big day. The morning of the graduation, my phone rang. Marcus. My heart jumped. Maybe he was calling to say he was excited I'd be there. Maybe things were turning around. Dad. Hey. His voice sounded strange. Tight. Listen. About tonight. I'm really looking forward to it, I said. I'm so proud of you, son. Yeah, about that. He cleared his throat. The thing is, Vanessa's parents are hosting a table at the reception. They're friends from the hospital. Some colleagues from the dealership. It's a networking thing. Okay, I said slowly. And Vanessa thinks, well, we both think it might be better if you didn't come to the reception part. The ceremony is fine, obviously, but the reception is going to be pretty upscale, and you know how those things are. Lots of doctors and business people. It might be uncomfortable for you. My hand tightened on the phone. Uncomfortable for me? Or uncomfortable for you? Dad, don't be like that. I'm just trying to save you from feeling out of place. You'd hate it anyway, all that fancy food and small talk about medical practices and investments. I see. You understand, right? You can watch the ceremony, take some pictures, and then head home. We'll do dinner next week, just the two of us. My treat. Something in his voice told me that dinner would never happen. Marcus, who's going to be at your table at this reception? Well, Vanessa's parents, obviously. Her aunt and uncle, some family friends. And, he hesitated, Dr. Morrison, from the hospital, is bringing his wife. He's considering me for a residency position, so this is really important. Who else? Another pause. Longer this time. Vanessa's brother, Jeff, and his wife. And Vanessa's parents invited this guy, Richard Chen, no relation, who's a senior partner at their investment firm. And where do they think I'll be? I told them you couldn't make it. Work emergency at the factory. The factory where I hadn't had a shift in 4 years because I'd quietly retired. The factory that didn't even exist anymore, Patterson Steel, had closed in 2021. So you lied. I bent the truth to make things simpler. Dad, please don't make this difficult. This is my day. I've worked so hard for this. He'd worked hard. On my money. While being ashamed of the man who gave it to him. Fine, I said quietly. I won't come to the reception. Thank you. I knew you'd understand. I gotta go. The ceremony starts in 6 hours, and I still need to pick up my gown. Love you, Dad. He hung up before I could respond. I sat in my kitchen for a long time after that call, the same kitchen where I'd taught Marcus to tie his shoes, where Sarah and I had helped him with homework, where we'd celebrated his acceptance to medical school with a chocolate cake from the grocery store because that's all we could afford. Then I made some calls. First, to Janet Reeves at the Case Western Foundation. Janet, it's Thomas Brennan. I need to discuss the scholarship disbursements. Of course, Mr. Brennan. How can I help? The final payment for the Brennan Family Medical Scholarship, the one covering this semester's expenses for Marcus Brennan. Has it been processed? Let me check. Yes. It processed last week. $22,000 for tuition, $6,000 for fees, and the stipend of $3,000. All deposited to his account as usual. I need to invoke the character clause, Section 7B of the scholarship agreement. Silence. Then, Mr. Brennan, are you certain? That clause allows you to recall all scholarship funds if the recipient demonstrates behavior fundamentally opposed to the values of integrity, family respect, and humility outlined in the founding document. I'm certain. How long to process? I'll need documentation of the cause. And if approved, the university will demand immediate repayment of all 4 years of funding. We're talking about $504,720. I'm aware. I'll send you the documentation within an hour. Mr. Brennan, he's your son. Yes, I said, which makes this harder than you can imagine. Second call. Marcus Whitfield at Fifth Third Bank. Marcus, Tom Brennan. I need to accelerate the loan recall on account 4,472. Tom, that's the education line of credit for my son. Yes. He's been making minimum payments using money his girlfriend gives him. I want full repayment within 30 days. And Marcus, invoke the cosigner liability. If he can't pay, it defaults to her. That'll destroy his credit. He should have thought about that before lying to me about work emergencies. Third call. David Santos, my attorney. David, I need you at the Ritz-Carlton tonight. I'm executing Plan B. Tom, are you sure? Your son's graduation? Just be there. The ceremony started at 2 p.m. I arrived at 1:30, wearing my new suit. I sat in the back of the Veal Center, watching as proud parents filled the rows. I saw Vanessa's parents in the 4th row, dressed like they were attending a royal wedding. I saw Marcus in his cap and gown, laughing with classmates, not once looking back to see if I was there. When they called his name, Marcus David Brennan, Doctor of Medicine, I stood and clapped. He crossed the stage, shook hands with the dean, and accepted his diploma. For a split second, he glanced toward where Vanessa's parents sat and smiled. He never looked my direction. After the ceremony, I waited outside as graduates poured out, taking pictures with families. I saw Marcus surrounded by Vanessa's family, her mother adjusting his collar, her father shaking his hand. Vanessa took a dozen selfies with him. I took one photo on my phone from a distance. Then I left. The reception started at 7 p.m. I wasn't invited, so naturally, I showed up at 6:45. The Ritz-Carlton ballroom was decorated like something from a magazine. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, ice sculptures, a live jazz band. The kind of event where just the flowers probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. I walked up to the entrance in my suit. A young woman with a clipboard stood at the door. Good evening, sir. Name, please? Thomas Brennan. She scanned her list. Frowned. I'm sorry. I don't see you on the guest list. I'm Marcus Brennan's father. Her expression changed to something between pity and confusion. Let me just check with someone. She spoke into a headset. A minute later, a manager appeared. Mr. Brennan? I'm afraid there's been some confusion. Your son's table is full, and we don't have an additional seat assigned for you. I see. May I at least congratulate my son? The manager looked uncomfortable. Of course. Let me find him for you. He led me into the ballroom. I saw Marcus immediately, standing at the bar with Vanessa, laughing at something Dr. Morrison was saying. The manager approached them, whispered something. I watched Marcus's face change. He excused himself and walked over to me, Vanessa trailing behind. Dad, what are you doing here? I came to congratulate my son. I told you this morning. I know what you told me. I thought I'd come by anyway, just for a moment. Vanessa stepped forward. Mr. Brennan, this is a private event. We have very specific seating arrangements for networking purposes, and I just want to shake my son's hand and tell him I'm proud of him. Marcus's jaw tightened. Dad, you're embarrassing me. These are important people. Dr. Morrison is right there. And if he sees what? A father congratulating his son? If he sees you, Vanessa cut in. Marcus told everyone his father couldn't make it because of a work emergency. And now you show up looking like, well, you show up, and it contradicts everything we've told people about Marcus's background. I looked at my son. What did you tell them about your background? He couldn't meet my eyes. I may have implied that the scholarship was merit-based, and that my family was comfortable. Not wealthy, but comfortable. Comfortable, I repeated. Dad, please don't make a scene. Just go. We'll do that dinner next week, I promise. I looked at him for a long moment. My son, the boy I'd raised, the man who was ashamed of me. You're right, I said quietly. I shouldn't be here. Relief flooded his face. Thank you for understanding. But before I go, I have something for you. I pulled an envelope from my jacket. Your graduation gift. Marcus took it, probably expecting cash. He opened it right there. Inside was a single document. What is this? That's a notice from the Case Western Foundation. The Brennan Family Medical Scholarship has been revoked due to violation of the character clause. You have 30 days to repay all funds received over the past 4 years. That's $504,720. The color drained from his face. What? Oh, and the second page is from Fifth Third Bank. Your education line of credit, the one I co-signed, is being called. Full repayment required within 30 days. That's another $60,000 you borrowed for living expenses. Vanessa snatched the papers. This is insane. You can't do this. I can, actually. I funded the scholarship. I co-signed the loan. And Section 7B of the scholarship agreement specifically allows for revocation if the recipient demonstrates behavior fundamentally opposed to family respect and personal integrity. Marcus grabbed my arm. Dad, wait. This is some kind of joke, right? You're trying to teach me a lesson? The only joke, I said calmly, is that you've been lying to yourself about who paid for everything. The scholarship you won? I created it. The money you thought just appeared? I put it there. Every tuition payment, every book, every meal plan, every dorm room. That was me. That's impossible. You're a welder. I was a welder. I'm also a landlord with 17 properties and a portfolio worth $3.4 million. But you never bothered to ask. You just assumed your old man was too stupid and too poor to be anything more than an embarrassment. Vanessa's mouth opened and closed. Marcus told us his parents were, he said. He said what? That I was nobody? That I was just some factory worker he wanted to forget about? Marcus's face crumpled. Dad, I didn't mean... You meant every word. And now you'll live with the consequences. I turned to go. Wait. He grabbed my arm again, harder this time. You can't do this. I'll lose everything. The bank will come after me, and I won't be able to pay. And what? You'll have to ask Vanessa's family for help? You'll have to admit you lied about your background? You'll have to face the fact that the man you were ashamed of was the man who gave you everything? Security appeared. The manager must have called them. 2 large men in suits. Sir, you need to leave. I looked at my son one last time. You told them I was a work emergency. You know what? You were right. Your whole life has been built on my work. And now it's an emergency because you just lost it all. They escorted me out. As I walked through that ballroom, 200 people watched. I heard the whispers starting. Saw the phones coming out. Dr. Morrison was frowning. Vanessa's father looked furious. I got into my truck and drove home. The next morning, my phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Marcus. I let it go to voicemail. He called 12 more times. I listened to the messages later. Dad, please, you have to fix this. The university sent me a formal letter. This is real. Dad, Vanessa's parents are furious. They're saying I lied to them about my family. Please call me back. Dad, the bank called. They're serious about the 30 days. I don't have that kind of money. Nobody does. You have to stop this. Dad, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. Please just answer the phone. I didn't answer. 3 days later, Vanessa left him. I know, because Marcus showed up at my house at 11 p.m., sobbing on my front porch. She's gone. She said I'm a liar and she can't trust me. Her parents won't even talk to me. And Dr. Morrison rescinded his residency offer. He said I showed poor judgment in family matters. I opened the door but didn't let him in. What do you want, Marcus? I need your help. I need you to fix this. Call the university. Call the bank. Tell them it was a mistake. Was it a mistake? What? Was it a mistake when you told security I was a stalker? Was it a mistake when you lied about me to everyone you knew? Was it a mistake when you were ashamed to have your own father at your graduation reception? He broke down. Full sobbing. The kind I hadn't seen since he was a kid with a skinned knee. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. Sorry because you got caught. Sorry because you're facing consequences. Not sorry for what you did. No, I'm sorry because I hurt you, because I was a terrible son, because I forgot everything you and Mom taught me about being a good person. I looked at him, really looked at him, saw the designer clothes Vanessa had bought him, saw the watch that probably cost more than my truck, saw the man who'd chosen status over integrity. But I also saw the boy who used to bring me his report cards with pride, who'd hugged me at Sarah's funeral and whispered, "We're gonna be okay, Dad," who'd once told me I was his hero. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "You're going to get a job. Not a doctor job, any job. Waiting tables, retail, I don't care. You're going to make payments to the university and the bank. Every month. Even if it takes you 20 years. Dad, I can't. The amounts are too big. You'll never what? You'll never drive a BMW again? You'll never live in a high-rise? Welcome to how most people live, Marcus. Welcome to the life you were so ashamed of. Please, there has to be another way." I pulled out a folder. Inside was a contract. "There is one way. You sign this agreement. You commit to working 1 full year at a free clinic in the poorest part of Cleveland. You live in a studio apartment in that neighborhood. I own one, rent-free. You use your medical degree to help people who can't afford fancy doctors. You remember why you wanted to be a doctor in the first place. And then, if you can prove to me that you've remembered what it means to have integrity, I'll reinstate the scholarship funds. But Marcus, you have to earn it. Not with words, with actions." He stared at the contract. 1 year? Minimum. Could be longer, depending on whether I believe you've actually changed. And if I don't sign, then you owe $564,720 in 30 days. Your choice. He took the pen with shaking hands and signed. That was 6 months ago. Marcus works at Street Vincent's free clinic now. It's in the same neighborhood where I bought my first rental property back in 1985. The same neighborhood Vanessa once called terrifying when I suggested he do volunteer work there. He lives in a 400 square foot studio above a bodega, takes the bus to work, eats ramen more nights than not, sees patients who pay with whatever they have, sometimes cash, sometimes vegetables from a garden, sometimes just a thank you. Last week, he called me. Not to ask for anything, just to talk. "Dad, I had this patient today. Mrs. Rodriguez. She's 72, been having chest pains for months but couldn't afford to see a doctor. I ran tests, found out she has severe coronary artery disease. We got her into surgery at Metro. I called in every favor I had. That's good work, son." She cried when I told her she didn't have to pay. She tried to give me a rosary her grandmother had given her. Said it was all she had of value. His voice cracked. I didn't take it, but Dad, the look on her face, the gratitude, I've never felt anything like that. That's what being a doctor is supposed to be about. I know that now. I forgot somewhere along the way. I got caught up in the prestige and the money and the idea of being important. But this is important. Mrs. Rodriguez is important. I smiled. Your mother would be proud. I'm sorry I disappointed her. I'm sorry I disappointed you. You didn't disappoint me, Marcus. You broke my heart. But hearts can heal. When can I come home? When you don't need to ask that question. When you understand that home isn't a place, it's who you are. And right now, you're still figuring that out. I understand. We talked for another hour. About his patients. About the clinic. About the neighborhood kids who'd started calling him Doc Marcus and asking him about medical school. About the landlord me who kept the building maintained despite it being in a rough area. When we hung up, I sat in my kitchen and looked at the photos on the wall. Marcus at his high school graduation. Marcus at Ohio State. Marcus and Sarah the Christmas before she got sick. And the newest photo one I'd had framed last week. Marcus at the clinic, in a white coat that's seen better days, kneeling down to examine a child's scraped knee. Someone had posted it on the clinic's Facebook page. He's smiling in it. Really smiling. Not the polished smile he used for Vanessa's family. The real one. I don't know if Marcus will finish his year and earn back that money. I don't know if he'll ever understand the full weight of what he did. But I know this. He's working in the same neighborhood where I started building my fortune, where I learned that value isn't measured in dollars but in what you're willing to do for others. And that's a start. Some people think I was too hard on him, that I should have just let it go, given him the money, forgiven and forgotten. But here's the thing about love, real love, the kind Sarah and I had for our son. It isn't about making someone comfortable. It's about making them better. I could have paid those debts, could have made the whole thing disappear with a phone call and a wire transfer. But then Marcus would have learned nothing. He'd have gone right back to the life he was building, the one where his father was an embarrassment, and success meant forgetting where you came from. Instead, he's learning what I learned 40 years ago, welding metal in a factory while everyone else was out having fun. He's learning that character isn't built in the good times. It's built when you're eating ramen in a studio apartment, wondering how you'll make it through another week, and you choose to do the right thing anyway. Last month, I drove past Street Vincent's, parked across the street and watched through the window. Saw Marcus talking to an elderly man, taking his blood pressure, writing something on a clipboard. The man said something and Marcus laughed, that same laugh he had when he was a kid, before the world taught him to be ashamed of joy. I didn't go in, didn't want to interrupt, but I took a picture on my phone, added it to the collection. Tonight, I got a text from him. Just 3 words. Thank you, Dad. I stared at those words for a long time. Thought about that night at the Ritz-Carlton. Thought about Sarah in that hospital bed, making me promise to teach our son the right way. I texted back, "You're welcome, son. Your mother would be proud of who you're becoming." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "I hope someday I can make you proud too." I smiled and typed, "You already are. Keep going." Because that's the thing about being a father. You don't do it for gratitude. You don't do it for recognition. You do it because your job isn't to be your child's friend. Your job is to raise them to be the kind of person the world needs. Even when it costs you everything. Even when they hate you for it. Even when you have to watch them suffer to learn. Because the alternative is raising someone who has everything but values nothing. Someone who's successful on the outside but hollow on the inside. Someone who forgets that the best things in life aren't given, they're earned. Marcus has 8 more months at the clinic. After that, we'll see. Maybe he'll stay longer. Maybe he'll move on to a residency somewhere. Maybe he'll come back to me, and we'll rebuild what was broken. Or maybe the distance between us will always be there, a scar that never fully heals. But either way, I know I did the right thing. Because I look at that photo of him with the scraped knee kid, and I see it. That thing Sarah and I always hoped would be there. That thing we were terrified we'd failed to teach him. I see a good man, not a perfect one, not a finished one, but a good one, who's trying, who's learning, who's finally understanding that the measure of a person isn't what they have, it's what they give. And in the end, that's all any father can hope for.